Okay, so yesterday we had a look at our threats to our data. So what are things that can act as a threat for us to lose our data? Here, an example of a case study here is an airline that this actually just happened to this week. Now this airline lost out on a lot of funds. What we're looking at for our homework though, will cover another part of your assessment, and that part comes around unauthorized access. So someone in the group, one of the groups actually touched base on this a little bit. We'll kind of cover that a little bit more. Here's an example. Take a look at an example from this week as well in Australia of unauthorized access.
The Bureau of Statistics has admitted it's fallen victim to foreign hackers, which forced it to shut down the site, leaving millions of Australians frustrated while they tried to fill out their forms online. Here is what the chief statistician had to say on radio earlier this morning. Have a listen.
The online census form was subject to 4 denial of service attacks yesterday. The first 3 caused minor disruption, but more than 2 million forms were successfully submitted and safely stored. After the 4th attack, which took place just after 7:30 p.m, the ABS took the precaution of closing down the system to ensure the integrity of the data.
Now looking at that video, you can see that that's an example of unauthorized access. So that was hackers and crackers that actually penetrated the website in Australia. There'll be an example.
Thank you a moment.
Oh, okay, so there'll be a task for you to do as part of your homework below, which you'll do later on after this presentation. Okay, so here are some security measures that we look at, so ways that we can prevent it from happening to ourselves. So whether you're wanting to run your own business or you put yourself into a role that involves handling information, these are some of the measures that we can look at. So we'll look at passwords, logging off, antivirus and firewalls, and then we'll look at physical security. Now looking at passwords, did you know that the #1 password in the world most commonly used is password? So in the workplace, it's something that you need to be very cautious with not creating an easy to know password. Otherwise you risk leakage of information, especially as you start developing your role higher in the chain. Now after password, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now here are the guidelines. As you can see, best practice is to include a mix of numbers, punctuation, uppercase, lowercase, at least 8 characters, and here are the tips. They need to be strong, remembered, used, kept confidential, secure, and changed regularly. Now if you have a look at examples, one example might be your internet banking. They normally require you to follow this criteria as well. Another example is if you look at StudyLink. If you look at your StudyLink account, there's a certain amount of requirements that you need to follow to allow you to set up a password for your Realme account. All these different passwords are set like this for a reason, to avoid any fraudulent activity, especially when it comes to accounts that involve handling information in terms of money. Okay, so logging off, locking, and shutting down your computer. There's 3 different ways of doing this, so I'm going to show you a little bit of how to do it. So logging off, what that really means is that you're out of your account, and you need to sign in with your username and your password again. You can do this by actually going to the start menu, so I'll show you in a second. Locking your computer is probably more useful, especially if you're in the workplace or even if you're in class at the moment. One way to do that is, as you can see on this picture over here, is hold the Windows key and press L, and it'll lock it straight away for you. Or I'll show you again after this on how to do that the other way. Now when you lock your computer, all you have to do is click unlock and type in the password, and everything's still running in the background. Now they're shutting down the computer. Now when you shut down the computer, it's completely offline from the network, so it's not connected to the network at all, since it's not powered anyway. So let's have a look and show you how to do that. So if you go here in the Windows, this is what's called the Windows icon, you'll see an option here called shutdown, and then you'll see an arrow here gives you, like, when you click on it, it gives you an option to either lock the computer, log off, or even switch users. So if you're wanting to keep your work saved, so let's say that I have a document that I'm still doing, but I want to go out for a lunch break. What I'll do is I'll lock my computer so that no one can access the information there. Some useful ones for your laptops, if you want to save battery, you can also put your computer on sleep and hibernate. Let's get back to the presentation. Alright, so next is virus protection and firewalls. So in the previous workshop yesterday, they would have covered antivirus, and there's also a firewall which protects your computer from malicious software or any suspicious activity. Last but not least, and it tends to be underestimated quite a bit, think about those movies with the server rooms. So one of the ways that you can protect your data is by restricting certain areas. So if you see by reception that you normally need a swipe card, or even at certain doors around the building that you need a swipe card to access it, and also how rooms are locked. So how I lock the office that I'm in at the moment, that holds all of our laptops. So certain staff have certain keys. Even with our swipe access, certain rooms even staff or facilitators can't access because that's for IT access only. So that's what restricting areas really means, is limiting who can go into which rooms. And that's just to protect the data as well. So here's your homework. It's due at 11:59 p.m. So answer part C of your assessment on page 6. That covers basically what we've done just now. If you need some advice or if you need more information, go to page 51, from page 51 to 53 of your workbook, and that should help you out. If you've lost your workbook, that is okay, including your assessment. There's a digital copy here underneath the forum. Also, don't forget, last part of your homework is not just to answer those 2 sections, but also to post the answer to the question in the forum below. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email or drop me a text. Until then, I'll see you on Monday.